The sun hung low over the California hills, casting amber light across rows of ripened vines and white folding chairs lined in perfect symmetry. The vineyard estate had been dressed in elegant soft drapery swaying in the breeze, cello notes still echoing from earlier in the ceremony. Guests sat in hushed reverence, phones tucked away, eyes fixed on the bride and groom standing beneath a minimalist floral arch, wildflowers, vines, and eucalyptus woven together like a secret. Elena Ward stood at the center of it all, radiant but calm. Her ivory gown whispered over the flagstone beneath her feet, the custom lace train catching flecks of light. Her hands, manicured and steady, held a small sheet of paper folded into quarters. She had written her vows that morning, between sips of coffee and long looks out over the vineyard, her words chosen carefully. Elena didn't speak in flourishes, she spoke in truths. "I knew," she began, voice low but carrying, "the first time I saw you, that you'd ruin my silence. And I would let you." A soft smile touched her lips. "You taught me to want stillness but never to fear noise. You taught me to—" Lucas Hale, dressed in bespoke navy linen, took a sudden half-step back. The movement was subtle, but Elena noticed. Her eyes met his expression wavered. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Just a soft breath, like the beginning of a confession. Then he blinked, whispered something only she could hear, 4 syllables, nothing clear, and turned. He walked away. No warning, no explanation. He turned and walked down the aisle like he had somewhere better to be. Somewhere more important. A gasp cut through the crowd like a blade. Then another. The officiant froze mid-sentence, mouth open, unsure whether to stop or keep going. The cellist dropped her bow. Elena said nothing. Her hand, still holding the vows, slowly lowered. The fingers on her left hand curled around the folded paper. Her eyes didn't follow Lucas. They stayed on the arch, on the wind-blown vines twisting above her. Then she exhaled. Not a sob, not a wail. A breath full, controlled, practiced. Elena straightened her shoulders. Her jaw tightened for half a second, then relaxed. And she nodded, once, like a signal only she could hear. Behind the crowd, a single champagne flute trembled on a serving tray. Then a dull thud echoed from the hills beyond the vineyard. The guests turned. Another thud, closer this time, heavier, deeper, the kind of sound that doesn't belong at weddings. One of the waitstaff glanced toward the tree line, eyes narrowing. And then the wine glasses on the nearest table began to rattle gently at first, then harder, clinking together like wind chimes before a storm. The ground gave a faint, almost imperceptible shake, enough to quiet every voice. A low hum rose from the road beyond the estate. Engines. Dozens. Elena didn't flinch. Her veil caught the breeze and lifted slightly behind her, like a flag raised in warning. The hum turned into a roar. From beyond the vineyard's far edge, past the winding gravel road lined with cypress trees, a thick cloud of dust rose like a wall, golden light slicing through it in sharp beams. The horizon fractured, and then they appeared. Black SUVs, more than 100, cresting the ridge in a synchronized wave. Headlights on, engines snarling, moving as one, not erratic, not confused, military precision. Gasps turned to screams. The guests surged from their seats, a wave of motion in pastel gowns and crisp suits. Some ran for the vineyard house. Others ducked behind overturned chairs. The officiant stumbled back from the altar, the vow book tumbling from his hands into the grass like an abandoned relic. The cellist dropped her instrument and sprinted. Wine spilled, glass shattered under panicked feet. But Elena Ward did not move. She stood where Lucas had left her alone beneath the arch, wind tangling in the lace of her veil. Her ivory dress whispered in the breeze kicked up by the first wave of vehicles grinding to a halt. Engines idled in low, guttural tones. Doors didn't open. No one emerged. Not yet. Then came the chop. The beat of helicopter blades cleaved through the sky like war drums. 4 Black Hawks thundered into view from behind the hills, their silhouettes framed against the late afternoon Sunday. They hovered with violent grace, wind flattening rows of grapevines and sending white folding chairs skidding across the grass. Ropes dropped. SEAL teams descended like shadows, black-clad, visors down, weapons drawn but not raised. Their movements were smooth, practiced a ghost storm given form. They hit the ground running, spreading out in every direction, locking down exits, securing perimeters, ignoring the screams, the phones, the chaos. They weren't here for the guests. They were here for her. Elena's veil lifted again, caught in the rotor wash, fluttering like a banner above her head. She reached up and pulled it off slowly, deliberately, letting it drift to the ground beside the vows she never got to finish. Boots crunched on stone. One of the SEALs broke formation and approached. His face was masked, helmet matte black, gear streamlined for combat, not ceremony. He stopped just a foot in front of her, snapped to attention, and saluted. Director Ward. The murmurs around the vineyard fell to a stunned hush, the kind born of complete disbelief. A radio crackled from the soldier's vest. The voice was calm, clipped, all business. Asterisk, asterisk. Asset has been compromised. Phase echo. 7 initiated. Orders? Asterisk, asterisk. Elena looked up at the SEAL, her eyes clear. Her reply was even, quiet, certain. Asterisk, asterisk. Clean extraction. Burn the files. Asterisk, asterisk. No hesitation, no emotion. The SEAL gave a single nod and spoke into his comm. Instantly, the SUV's rear doors popped open in perfect sequence, agents in tactical suits fanning out with lethal coordination. Fire teams moved to the house. A drone buzzed overhead, scanning. The vineyard was no longer a wedding. It was a war zone. And at the center of it all stood Elena Ward, in a wedding gown streaked with dust, watching her old life vanish under the boots of the people she once commanded. The vineyard was no longer just scattered petals and shattered glass. It was a fortress locked down, scanned, sealed. SEAL units moved in tight formations between overturned banquet tables and abandoned gift boxes. Guests were herded to safety, questions swallowed by silence and black vests. Somewhere in the distance, the string quartet's music still looped softly from a disconnected speaker, eerie and out of place. Elena Ward stepped into the back of one of the black SUVs, its interior gutted and rebuilt into a mobile command post. Inside, screens glowed blue and red with real-time intercepts. Data streamed across the walls, satellite uplinks, biometric pings, flagged transmissions. The air buzzed with low voices and the hum of machines. Tactical operators in dark suits worked at terminals, glancing only briefly as she entered in her torn gown and dirt-streaked heels. She didn't sit. She leaned over the ops table, her fingers resting beside a holographic map projection. Her wedding dress, once fitted with surgical elegance, now felt like old skin she was ready to shed. "Pull up Echo 7 files," she ordered calmly. A tech glanced at her, then back to his console. "Director Ward confirmed," he said, tapping in a sequence. The screen shifted, revealing layers of encrypted data. Elena's eyes scanned the feed with the fluency of someone who hadn't just walked out of a wedding but out of a mission, one that had never truly ended. Her voice was clipped, efficient. "I need a trace on Hale's last 48 hours. Cross-reference offshore movement reports. Look for a relay out of Marrakesh. If he made contact, it was there." Across the vineyard, at the northern edge near a wrought iron gate, Lucas Hale was on his knees. 2 SEALs stood flanking him, weapons down but grips tight. His hands shook as he muttered under his breath. "I didn't know what they were. They said they'd kill me if I didn't walk. I didn't know she'd—" His voice cracked. "I thought it was just a cover. I didn't know it was real." His tuxedo was perfect. His eyes were hollow. Inside the command SUV, a young tech barely out of his 20s, headset cocked to one ear turned from his terminal. The director's been undercover for 3 years, he said to no one in particular, awe in his voice. This wedding, it was the extraction trigger. Flash. A memory, sharp and vivid. Elena alone in her apartment. Sunlight cutting through closed blinds. A sealed envelope sat untouched on the counter. No name, no return address. She opened it with a steak knife. Inside, a single black card with a gold triangular emblem that pulsed faintly like it was alive. And one line, typed on clean white paper. Asterisk, asterisk. They've made contact. Proceed with phase dormant. Asterisk, asterisk. Another flash. Lucas standing on their balcony, phone pressed to his ear, body turned just enough to hide his mouth. His voice low, his words careful. He thought she never noticed. She did. Another. Elena, in a dimly lit room, door locked, her wedding dress hanging on a mannequin like a ghost watching her. She loaded files onto a slim USB drive, her fingers moving with precision, no hesitation. The same fingers that would later hold her vows, the ones no one would hear. Back in the present, a monitor blinked red. Contact confirmed, a voice said over comms. Encrypted drops between Hale and a known intermediary. GPS relays point to Cyprus and Marrakesh. Timeline matches. Elena didn't blink. Initiate Protocol 6. Tag all open accounts and pull the Cyprus footage. I want voice match confirmed within the hour. The room moved faster now. Operators snapping into motion. She stepped out of the SUV a moment later, wind catching the hem of her ruined dress. She didn't glance toward Lucas. The SEALs would handle him. She had bigger fires to smother. Behind her, the screen inside still glowed with a line of command. Asterisk, asterisk, mission status. Director Ward active. Asterisk, asterisk. The vineyard was emptying fast. The sun, once golden and warm, had cooled into a pale orange haze slipping behind the hills. What had begun as a celebration of vows now ended as a controlled extraction site. Rows of white chairs were overturned or removed, tables dismantled, linens stripped. The soft grass where petals had once fallen was now tracked with boot prints and tire marks. The scent of lavender and wine had vanished, replaced by dust, diesel, and classified urgency. A perimeter had been secured within minutes. Guests still disoriented, tear-streaked, some barefoot, some demanding answers were calmly escorted to secured transport vehicles. Some wept. Some raged. It didn't matter. Each one was logged, debriefed, and for a select few, discreetly sedated. Memory protocol was enacted for those deemed high risk. What they'd seen wouldn't survive the week. Their lives would return to normal, though they'd never know how close they'd come to something that couldn't be explained with words. At the far edge of the property, a mobile comms tent hummed with encrypted transmissions. A red file stamped Obsidian was being uploaded. Elena Ward's cover life name, records, apartment, accounts was deleted in real time. Within the hour, the media would report a tragic accident, a helicopter crash en route to a honeymoon retreat. Bride and groom presumed dead. No remains found. Search ongoing. Lucas Hale had already been taken. 2 SEAL operatives escorted him into an unmarked black transport, his wrists bound behind his back with reinforced zip cuffs. His eyes were swollen, not from tears but from exhaustion, the kind that came from years of secrets he never truly understood. He tried to look at her once as they passed, tried to form words. But Elena didn't turn her head. She had nothing left to say. The wind rustled the hem of her dress or what was left of it, but she no longer wore white. By the time the last vehicle rolled down the gravel drive, Elena was seated in the back of a command SUV, now dressed in matte black tactical gear. Her posture was relaxed but alert, like someone slipping back into muscle memory. Her hair was pulled back, her face wiped clean. The wedding was gone. The silence was clean. She held a photo in one hand, edges frayed, colors sun-worn. A memory printed in softer times, her and Lucas at a beach, laughing, wind in their hair, a sandcastle collapsing between them. He was holding a cheap plastic shovel. She had sunscreen on her nose. It had been real once, or real enough to make her believe. She studied the photo for a moment longer, then slid it into the back of a burner phone case. Stepping outside the SUV, she crossed the stone path to a small circular fire pit near the vineyard's edge. A single flame flickered, fed by shredded documents and the ash of a false life. Elena dropped the phone and photo into the flame. They curled, blackened, and vanished. She turned, walking back to the SUV with a steady pace. One of the agents opened the door for her. As she stepped inside, she reached for the scanner mounted just beside the command terminal. Her black card, the one with the gold triangular emblem, gleamed under the lights. She placed it against the scanner. The screen lit up instantly. Asterisk, asterisk, welcome back, Director Ward. Asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk, asterisk, mission reactivated. Asterisk, asterisk. No applause, no salute, just silence and purpose. Elena sat down, locked in her harness, and stared at the screen as the SUV pulled away from the vineyard, no longer a bride, no longer a name in a registry. Now she was what they had always tried to bury. The ghost who didn't stay gone. And the lion they should have never let sleep.